How's it going, everybody? I'm the Florida Animan, and today I'd like to make a video rating characters from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. However, I seem to notice that most people do ratings and tier lists for JoJo's based on the stands and characters' either design, how OP they are, or just how much of a husbando most of the characters are. I mean, come on. But I don't see much rating the characters based on their names and more specific the names that entail a reference to music and bands and artists. And to me that's one of my favorite things. I noticed that in the first episode, just when they introduce these characters, it's so cool to see just these really blatant references that you just kind of shows Araki, the author of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, taste in pop culture and music, especially over here in the West. So let's break it down. Let's get into Araki's playlist, essentially. So without further ado, let's get to the first pick. So the first one we're starting with is Dio. Everybody knows Dio. And it's kind of tough to start with this one because Dio is a heavy metal band that started in 1982, I believe. And holy hell, this band absolutely shreds. It's so good. Absolute bangers after bangers after bangers. It's not even a contest. I mean, you have a badass character like Dio. It matches with the band. This is easily an S tier. Not even a contest. So from there, we have Danny, which I don't know if many people will be surprised that that's even included as a character, but poor Danny. The name he's based off of is a lot more peaceful than the inevitable fate of our beloved best boy here. It's from the song Danny's Song, song Danny's Song by Loggins and Messina from the early 70s. It's kind of a country rock, has very like lullaby vibes. It's very soothing and calm. It's very pleasant to listen to, but I mean, it didn't really do much for me. I'm not super impacted by it. It's a decent enough song. But I probably won't listen to it outside of this one time unless it comes up. If it's on, I won't get rid of it, but I won't go seeking it out. So our poor boy Danny is probably going to be around a C tier. From there, we have Erina Pendleton, which this one was really tough to figure out what the reference was to. I believe it's Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. And yeah, some of these names aren't explicitly bands, they're either albums or individual song names. So this one, from what I could find on the internet, it's the closest to Eleanor. I don't know if it's just the English of Edina. That is one explanation I saw, and sure, we'll see. But in regards to the actual song Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles, it's an absolute classic. I mean, there's not really much you can hate about the song. I don't think I could listen to it at any point in time. It definitely has a certain tone to it, but I do think it's a song that if somebody puts on, I'm not going to change it. It's a very, very good song. It's not even that long. It's only like 2 minutes long. But it's definitely an enjoyable song if you listen to it. It's the Beatles, so that shouldn't really come as too much of a surprise. So Erina is easily going into the A tier. From there, we have everybody's favorite waifu, Robert E.O. Speedwagon. And much like Dio, they have so many good songs that it's hard to really like complain when they're on. And you know when REO Speedwagon is on because it's such a distinct sound that I don't know, I feel like it's either you love it or hate it because it's so distinct that you either really like almost everything they put out, or you just can't stand the sound. For me, I would say I teetered on this one thinking about it. I would have to say it doesn't hit the same as Dio, where I could probably pop it on driving, working out, doing anything. So it drops just a little bit, but it'll sit comfortably at an A tier. Easily. Our best waifu. From there we have Wang Chun. Or I'm sorry, the band is Wang Chun and the character is Wang Chan. You can see how it gets confusing. So apparently it transfers to Yellow Bell in Chinese. It's an English new wave group. Um, they have a couple hit songs that you'll probably recognize if you pull up like their top hits. For me though, they're a little better than average, but they kind of do just sit in the middle. I won't seek them out, and I won't absolutely just skip them. They have a couple catchy earworms, but other than that, they kind of just sit in the middle for me. Kind of right down the middle average. They have their own very 70s poppy vibe. It's the new wave. So Wang Chun I'm going to have as our first B tier. So from here, we have Will A. Zeppelin, which is a very obvious reference to Led Zeppelin. And just like Dio, I could put these guys on at any point in time, no matter what I'm doing. Absolute bangers. They have just full albums that are just front to back. You could just wear the crap out of them. So there's not too much I can really break down with these guys. Zeppelin is easily getting put S tier. No contest. It is so tough to slide those all the way up. From there we have the boy Poco, which Poco, it's an American country rock band. I'm not huge on them, much like some of the lower down ones we get through here. They have a couple songs that I do enjoy, but overall they're just all right for me. It's just not my personal cup of tea, I guess. So they're kind of just going to sit right in the middle with Wang Chun at a B tier. Now, where I get divisive here is Tarkus. It's not actually the name of the group. It's the name of the second album by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which they have some good songs, but I'm not too familiar with them. So while I was listening to this one album, it's kind of rough. I wasn't a huge fan of this. It's about 38 minutes long or so, and it's only like seven songs or so. And the first song is the self-named song to the album, Tarkus, and it's like 21 minutes long, a little underneath that, I think. 21 minutes long, and I couldn't do it, man. Sitting through that was just I just didn't vibe with it. It has such a slow drag to it, and then it changes genres, no joke, like 4 times in the styles. And somewhere in there it sounds good for certain parts, but not enough to justify 20 plus minutes. I don't think there's a single song, even my favorite song in the world, I'd want to listen to for 20 minutes. I don't really see anything working like that. Even some of the longer songs that are like 10 minutes are too long. But with this album, since technically with this character it's based on the album, the final 2 songs of that album, A Time and a Place and Run something Eddie, I can't remember the actual name of it. Those 2 songs are decent, but nothing to really write home about. I probably won't seek out this particular album, maybe the group otherwise, but this album, if it wasn't for those 2 songs, it would be D tier for sure, but because it had a couple good songs at the end, it's a C tier for me. From here we have Brewford, which is kind of cool with this character. I don't really remember a lot of this character specifically, but he's based on Bill Brewford, which is the drummer from Yes, and most people that are JoJo's fans know who Yes is because it's the outro roundabout that is just been absolutely blown into the meme, and that it's just circled into this ascended thing that if you play it, even if somebody hasn't touched or even heard of JoJo's, they probably have seen the To Be Continued outro. It's absolutely legendary, and that song alone is just phenomenal, even past just the meme ending opening that everybody knows. Yes, as a group, and I know this is the drummer, which it's kind of hard to go into with just that, but so I'm just going to kind of include it as the band. They have so many other good songs outside of just Roundabout that I, I have no hard time putting this one at an A tier. From here, we have Dire and Straits, and I didn't splice together two pictures, so I just have Dire. Crucify me for that if you will, but whatever. They're a British rock band that I don't really have a lot that's notable for these guys. They're decent and they do have a couple good songs, but I'm not the biggest fan personally. It's just kind of how it goes. This is all subjective if you haven't already picked up on this. So they have Sultan's Swing, which I think if you look up that song, you know that song. Probably. Hopefully. That's a really good song. And then they have a couple other good ones. But for me personally, Dire and counterpart Straits for Dire Straits, the band, it's just a C tier for me. And yes, this entire time, I have notes because this is basically like trivia. It's not so much the bands I can't remember, it's the actual faces of some of these more side characters from parts that I don't really remember, like just on their faces. That makes it pretty tough to remember, so I just have it organized. Don't flame me too hard for that. It's just to help my brain remember and to keep on track. And moving on, we have Ton Petty. Not Tom Petty, Ton Petty, but it is a reference to Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers as a continuation, which is it's a great band. They're really good. And it's even better because they're from Florida. So I have a personal connection. Not really, but just for the memes. Yeah. A bunch of good songs. A voice. Tom Petty has a voice that, much like REO Speedwagon, you know it. Like, if you hear one of those songs by them, you know who it is because it's just iconic and has their own signature that you're gonna catch if you know them prior. Overall, I don't really have a lot of complaints. Tom Petty isn't personally one of my favorites, so I can skip them if I'm really not feeling it. But if they're on, I probably won't. They're good enough that I'll probably just leave them on. So I'll leave Tom Petty here at a B tier. From here we have Doobie, which is a reference to the Doobie Brothers. Good vibe all around. This band, much like Tom Petty, I probably won't skip any songs if they're playing, but they're kind of just in the middle. I don't have too much to say. I'm not that well versed on some of these groups, but I think comfortably I can enjoy them if they're on. So B tier for sure. From here we have Plant, Bonham, Jones, and Page. It's kind of a four grouped up character as this one because they're all members of Led Zeppelin. So I probably could have thrown them in with Zeppelin, but it kind of didn't feel the same just because these four are characters of their own as like a group, and then Zeppelin is his own thing. So I kind of wanted to just keep them apart. That being said, it's kind of an easy decision where he's just going to end up being an S tier because it's the same band, it's the same members, so that's just how it goes. And then last but not least, we have Father Sticks, which, yeah, it's just another rock band that has a ton of bangers. I will definitely put these guys on more than the lower half of these bands and groups that we've gone over today. So easily, not much to say about them. Definitely listen to them. An A tier. No contest. And that's about it for these. So all the bands that I have talked about, even the lower ones, still give them a shot because people's taste in music is, well, it's their taste in music. So you'll probably feel vastly different than how I do. It's just more my taste in genres and music. I will say I actually do enjoy most of the songs, bands, and albums and individual bits that are referenced in Jojos, especially, I mean, for just part 1 right now. So I don't have many complaints. I do have one last rating to give, though. This seems about right. This might be where some people will put me when they find out I disagree with their taste in music, but to each their own. I completely understand. Well, that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like the video. If it gets enough likes, if this gets like 50 views and 10 likes, then I'll easily make a part 2 with Battle Tendency. This was fun. Hopefully it was fun for you guys to watch. Otherwise, you know the drill. If you haven't already, hit that subscription button. I love you if you do. Specifically you. You know it. Greatly appreciate it if you do. Otherwise, I don't really have much else to say for right now. So have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you in the next one. See ya.